What a mess. What a mess. What a mess in the Big Brother Canada 10 house. Kyle thinks he has it all figured out. He thinks that Josh will be going home on Thursday. But he might be the one blindsided because as of right now, Josh still has the votes to stay. Stephanie will also be blindsided because she's also on the block. And she hasn't put in a whole lot of effort to stay this week because she thinks it's in the bag, I guess. I don't know. It's odd times between Kyle and Stephanie. I just wanted to quickly go through everyone, I guess, on some of the things that have been going on in the house. You know, this season has been, as much as I don't enjoy watching it anymore, but it has been another study in race relations in the Big Brother house because I've already talked about Kyle and Marty and they're trying to get all the white people on the same page, but that just had the opposite effect, getting the black people on the same page. We might have a new cookout, minus Betty. For some reason, poor Betty just can't get in any big alliances. But it's for the best because Betty is a very emotional player. Her and Kevin have this weird love-hate relationship where they like to end up in arguments with each other. But it has been strange watching how Kyle and Marty thought that this week was going to be easy and that they could just put Josh on the block, backdoor him even though it wasn't a real backdoor because he played in the veto. And they think they would just magically have the numbers. And then we have Gino, who he has a good social game, but he has about one brain cell to, Kyle's half brain cell. Gino doesn't want to put in any work with anyone. He just kind of goes with the flow. Kyle could tell him that they have the votes, and I assume that at this point of my recording that Gino and JC and Stephanie all just believe Kyle that the votes are there and that Josh will be going, so they might as well just vote out Josh. But it's both sad and funny how Kyle and Marty, and even Gino to an extent, only trusted so far the white players in the house. Especially Marty, who he's the one I've talked about who set this whole ball rolling. Herman earlier in the week was trying to tell Marty that Kyle's HOH is just so messy and it's not really working out. And I think Marty kind of agreed, but I guess didn't care at that point. But when Kevin tells him that Kyle's HOH isn't going well, then Marty really sits there and listens. It does help that Kevin made him paranoid because, Marty won that vote from Canada. And Kevin does a lot of great little things. Kevin was smart enough to try to make Marty paranoid about that and tell Marty that maybe Canada voted him safety because Kyle was trying to backdoor him. And I think Marty really took that to heart. Kevin also alluded to Marty that Kyle might not have the votes to get Josh out. And so that is when Marty started to maybe listen. Marty can't go along with that. He wants to, keep his relationship with Kyle and still vote the way Kyle wants him to vote. But as it stands right now, if JC and Gino and Marty all vote the same, that's only 3 votes. Kevin is trying to play the middle. And then there's Helena, who's also trying to play the middle. But Helena's being very obnoxious and pretty stupid about it, frankly, because she thinks she's the swing vote. Helena really thinks she is the swing vote, but she's probably not going to be the swing vote. So her doing this week and basically playing and saying she doesn't know how to vote and she doesn't know who to believe and yada, yada, yada. Well, this is one of those weeks where you kind of have to draw a line in the sand. And Helena, who's been trying to play a rat game, is kind of getting caught as being a rat, especially by Herman. Because Helena's being so annoying about her vote, she's trying to stay in the middle, but the way she is approaching this week, it's not going to work because you got to draw a line this week. She could have easily pick the right side with Jess, because Jess is going to vote for Josh to stay because she is close to Josh. She doesn't want another LGBTQ person to go home, and I will give Jess credit because in one of my last videos, I was waiting to see if she continued to go along with Kyle and Marty with the whole other siding the black players, when at that point in the game, the black players were not all together, and Jess was listening to all the drivel from Marty and Kyle for a while. And I was, calling her out for possibly being fake woke and all that bullshit, but she hasn't been this week. And she is going to keep Josh. So yeah, Kevin and Helena can try and play the middle, but they're not really in the middle if Jess votes for Josh to stay, because all the black players are also going to be voting for Josh to stay, and that's 6 votes, and that's all that is needed for Josh to stay. Kyle, in all of his dumb assery, at one point during the week, he thought there could be a tie and he could be the tiebreaker. So his numbers are just way off. Everything he's doing this week has been pretty way off. Definitely one of the worst HOH reigns in Big Brother Canada history. Probably the worst, honestly. Let's go over a couple other people. Moose has tried. He's really had to get his game together this week because he was the initial nom from Kyle. He won veto, however, but he broke a lot of people's trust when Kyle told Summer and Tanisha and Herman earlier in the week when Moose first went up. God, this week feels so long. This Kyle HOH feels like it's been a month. And I haven't even watched feeds every day, and it still feels so long. But Moose has had to try and gain their trust back this week, and with the possibility of a Canadian cookout being Herman, Moose, Tanisha, and Summer, and Josh. That's what Herman wants anyway. Obviously, I didn't say Betty's name because, like I said earlier, she's not really included in this because she's too emotional of a player. That is something Days got right. I will give Days credit. I was kind of wrong on that regard with Betty, I can admit. However, I think I was also right with Betty in that she has done a good job of, falling under the radar. All these bigger targets want to take each other out. She just needs to continue to try and fall under the radar. I don't know if she can do that if she continues to get emotional about things, however. Summer, meanwhile, playing a hell of a social game. One of the best social games in the house. She has relationships with everybody in that house in one way, shape, or form, minus Stephanie. But if Stephanie goes this week, who cares? However, Summer's strategies can be iffy. She's a great social player so far. I don't know about strategic player. We'll have to find out. Kevin is playing a great game. Maybe an overrated game at certain points by some people online, but I do like the game Kevin is overall playing. Kevin was never going to be a villain this season the way he said he was going to be, because Kevin and his personality was never going to have a lot of agency in this game. But what Kevin is doing well, he's kind of an anti-hero at times because he's not aligned strongly with the annoying, awful, obnoxious people in the game, although, like I've stated, most of this cast to me is obnoxious. But Kevin is doing a very great job of making his target super duper small on his back, kind of messing with people's heads here and there. He has Betty, who calls him out on his entire game every other day, but for the most part, he is still doing a good job of playing that role where he's not this threat, he's everybody's friend, he has no power. And it's true, he doesn't have a whole lot of power, because like I said, he's not the swing vote, even though he might think he's the swing vote. He doesn't think that as much as Helena does. Helena thinks she is just so important this week, and her ass isn't if Jess is voting with all the black players to keep Josh in the game. But yeah, Kyle and Marty wanted a race war. Well, congrats, you might have created the Canadian cookout.